As gatekeepers to home ownership, real estate brokers and agents are in a prime position to help close the ownership gap and ensure quality housing for historically marginalized groups. One of the biggest errors when trying to even the playing field for all groups is to claim to be blind to all differences, color blindness. Now, this isn't very realistic or practical. A more effective approach recognizes and honors the differences in others, creating empathy. With greater understanding, individuals may become aware of their own implicit biases, discard stereotypes, and embrace the unique backgrounds and experiences of each individual. Now, the highest number of fair housing complaints received each year in California, by far, are in regard to disability status. California law defines disability as a mental or physical impairment, disorder, or condition that limits a major life activity such as working, physical, and social activities. This includes medical diagnoses such as HIV/AIDS and cancer. For example, consider a disabled rental applicant who requires the use of a service dog, but the rental unit they are applying for does not allow pets. Even though the no pet rule applies to all tenants and is not, on its face, discriminatory, the landlord may not refuse to rent a unit to a tenant on the basis that they are disabled and use a guide dog, which is a seeing eye dog trained by a licensed individual to aid a blind person, signal dog, which is trained to alert a deaf or hearing impaired person to intruders or sounds, or service dog, which is trained to aid a physically disabled person with protection work, pulling a wheelchair or fetching dropped items. Landlords may not charge additional rent or security deposit to tenants with authorized service, guide, or signal dogs. Though again, do note that the dogs need to be specifically trained and authorized to provide these services. This rule does not apply to emotional support animals. Further, a landlord who refuses to make reasonable accommodations to afford a person with disabilities an equal opportunity to use and enjoy their housing is guilty of practicing unlawful discrimination. When the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, DFEH, investigates and finds the landlord practiced unlawful discrimination, the DFEH may require the landlord to provide housing that was previously denied, pay monetary compensation for any losses or even emotional distress, undergo mandatory one-time or regular training to prevent future discriminatory acts, pay fees, penalties, fines, and undergo monitoring to avoid future discrimination. Another less obvious discriminatory activity for which the DFEH receives a high number of complaints is discrimination based on the source of income. As of 2020, government housing vouchers such as Section 8 vouchers are considered a tenant's source of income in California. Thus, it is a protected status. In other words, California landlords may not choose to deny housing to a tenant based on their use of housing vouchers. Further, due to the tenant's legal source of income, a landlord may not advertise a preference or limitation for certain sources of income, refuse an application, charge a higher deposit or rent, treat the tenant differently in any way, refuse to renew the lease, terminate the tenancy, lie about the availability of a unit, require additional conditions or rules on the tenancy, or restrict the tenant's access to property facilities or services. Though again, this pertains to a legal source of income. Now, tenants or applicants who believe they have been discriminated against may file a complaint with the DFEH. The department will investigate and attempt to resolve the complaint. When the complaint cannot be resolved, the DFEH may file a lawsuit against the landlord to seek monetary relief.
In a world of generic CE, it's finally time to start enjoying your real estate education. Introducing First Tuesday's video renewal course, Real Estate Made Real. California's first and only DRE-approved video-based renewal experience. Get an exclusive preview and enroll today. Be the star of your career.